Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's Friday, and I'm here by myself today. And I'm sure all you guys are aware of it that Dub's mom passed away the other night. So she won't be here and she won't be in the chat, but she wanted me to tell you guys thank you for all the messages she's been getting. And she's been getting quite a few, and she didn't re up on locals. So she can't comment on anything that you guys are putting down there, but she can. She has her own website on that. I think Simple Life. So if you want to send her a message so she can comment on it or anything, go over to locals and go on to her site over there, and you can put comments of anything you want to put for Deb. But Deb, we love you, and we want you to know that you're in all of our prayers. And so, you know how I always talk about unity and projection and your intentions and all that kind of stuff? That it all goes back to prayer too. So when you pray, that energy is going out, and when you project things, that energy is going out. New age people, they do it different. Their intentions are different. They might call it meditation. Christians call it prayer. I don't know what the Muslims call it, but it's a lot of weird things. And Deb always handles the prayer stuff here for us. And I thought it was kind of strange, that I was going to have to do it today. So what I did is Palin a while ago sent a couple of us these books, and it's just a little side thing that we do. And so I decided I'd take the book that Palin sent, and it's called Biscuits, Butter, and Blessings. And I decided what I was going to do is just open up the book, and wherever it fell, that's what I was going to read for today. And this is strange, but this is what came out. So I'm going to read you the verse first, and then I'm going to read the paragraph underneath, and you'll see why it ties to what I talk about. But it says, bringing out the best in people. And when I entered your home, you didn't bother to offer me water to wash the dust from my feet, but she has washed them with her tears and wiped them with her hair. And that is Luke 7:44. The paragraph underneath it is, are you the kind of person who encourages, inspires, and brings out the best in people? Most of us would like to believe we do, but we would be hesitant to answer the question with good reason. The question is better answered by those who know you. There are some people who choose to believe the best of others, even a serial killer. Though presented with undisputed facts in criminal court about the individual, they would doggedly stick to their opinion about the person they believe in. But God doesn't want or expect us to wear blinders and pretend everybody we know or meet is hunky-dory. Instead, he instructs us to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves from Matthew 10:16, but wise yet gentle and savvy yet sweet. And that ties in pretty much to like what we're talking about. So you have the division in our country between the people that are for Kamala Harris, and then you have the people that are for Trump. For years, the people that are for Trump have been vilified, demonized, being called threats to democracy and everything else. And we're not a threat to democracy. If you look at what the Democrats are doing, that's where the threat to democracy comes from. They're calling everybody names. They're trying to take away the First Amendment and censor people. They're trying to take away your gun rights, and she says she's not going to confiscate, but yet she's on tape saying she's going to confiscate AR-15s. And the one that got me the most was her saying that just because you have a legal gun in your home and your home is locked, don't think we won't come in to see if you're storing it safely. That is just unbelievable. That we can't allow that. We can't have that. We have to join together, all of us, and project unity and project and pray, whatever you want to call it, so that we all come together before the election. Because if we don't, and this election doesn't go the way we want it, there's going to be a lot of trouble. Now, either way, I think there's going to be trouble. I think if Kamala gets elected, there's going to be trouble. And I think if Trump gets elected, there's going to be trouble. I don't think we really have a way of getting around it, but we can tamp it down on our end and set a good example for people. And that's the whole point of that verse, was bringing out the best in people. Now in chat, I know we call, like the other side, funny names, and we come up with, nicknames for them and everything. And that's all really done more in fun than it's done to be nasty or mean. But this verse, it was just so funny that this is the kind of thing that I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. And then I flip open the book because Deb's not here, and this is what I get. So I think that was a little bit of a God nod, probably to me too, to kind of tone myself down a little bit and try to set a better example for the younger people that are online and that are looking, maybe to elders to see, for an example on how to behave. But it would be really good. A lot of us have grandkids, and some of us have kids that are still in school. And I think that's a really good thing to bring about today on a Friday, about unity. And, maybe you can talk to your kids or your grandkids and try to set a good example for them. And I try to do that, but, I'm kind of goofy anyway, so my mine know what I'm like. And I say a lot of things in jest, and I really don't mean it. So I'm going to tone myself down a little bit too. I know it's not as much fun to be more serious, but you really should. When it comes to the election stuff, that's so important for us that I can't see how we can get out of this unless we all unite. Because if we don't, and that election happens, and like one side just goes ballistic, this country can't do that. We have too many other problems. We've got the wide open border. We've got inflation going through the roof. People can't afford to eat. They're eating pets in Springfield. They say they are. I believe it. I've seen enough stuff online. And even if they're not eating them, they're sacrificing them. And that's their culture doesn't mesh with ours. And that's a lot of the problem with the immigrants, is years and years ago, when they came across, even my family, when they came across, they had to go through Ellis Island. They had to pass a health check. They had to have a sponsor. They had to have employment lined up. If they were sick, they didn't come in. They were put into a hospital area on Ellis Island, and then they had to be well to be able to come in. Now it's not like that anymore. There's no merit in immigration. And I think that's going to be our country's downfall without merit in immigration. We can't absorb the whole globe's lower population, uneducated criminals, psychotic people, and that's what we're getting. We're not getting the best of the best, and we're not getting people that can add to our culture or could add to, to anything really when you look at it, because they're draining our social services. They can't speak English, and they do not assimilate. When they start walking around with flags from other countries and stuff, that they're not assimilating, and I don't think they have any intentions on assimilating. And that's a real sad thing for us. Without assimilation, we're going to be fractured, and it'll be, like tribes, basically. It'll be tribe over tribe, and we don't want that. We've never had that, and we don't need it. But I'm off my soapbox now. I just wanted to say all that, and I thought it was pretty important to try to bring that together for us. And I'm apologize, but I can't bring chat up today because I can't read it and do this at the same time. So I'm sorry. I won't be able to read it. But we got today, Sean Lucas is going to come on, and so is Nutcracker. And you guys are familiar with Nutcracker. She always has lots of really good information in the chat all the time. And when you want to go down a conspiracy hole, Nut's a good person to take with you. She's got a lot of good stuff. And she can go back into the 80s with the Franklin stuff and everything. And I enjoy talking to her because I remember a lot of that stuff. And I got into conspiracy and all that kind of stuff back in 1993. I started following Jeff Rense. And this is when everything was still dial up and everything. And he was moving country to country because they were finding him. But he was one of the first people that came out online and was letting you know about like the world, like what the World Economic Forum really was all about, and about the royal families and all that kind of stuff. And it really got me hooked. And at that time, you really couldn't find that much stuff online. So what I would do is I would go and just buy every book I could find that had anything like that in it. And then I read David Icke, and that really opened my eyes. Now, some of his stuff is like crazy, really out there, but some of it is really good. So you might have to pick and choose what you want to read. But if you ever wanted to start getting into conspiracy, that I would highly recommend David Icke, just because some of it's so crazy. Just remember that. But it's a real good primer to start you out on that kind of stuff. But if you go to his early books, he explains like about the families and the Council of 300 and the Red Shields, Rothschilds, all that kind of stuff. And so it's really interesting. And Nut talks about a lot of that stuff. And so I thought it would be really cool to have her come on today. And then Sean, he was down in Palm Beach when they tried to go after Trump again at the golf course. So I'm sure he'll have something nice to say. He had a good video, and I wish I could play it for you guys, but it chops up when I try to play a video through here. So I don't know what the problem is with it, but so I can't play it, but it's really good. Sean's yelling and yelling. So I really like that video clip. It was really nice. But the other things, that we talk about all the time are the Haitians in Springfield. And I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but I just found out a town about 18 miles from me is getting 25,000 Haitians. And the town only has 18,000 people in it. And there is no extra housing around here or anything. So I have no idea what they're going to do with these people. And I found out there's Haitian churches that have partnered with the Catholic Church. And this is where all these people are coming from. And they're setting them up before they even get here. And they can't be removed because they have temporary protected status with Joe Biden. So they're allowed to file for social services, go to school, do everything. Now, Tyson is in Logansport. This is the city that they're coming to. So my supposition is that they're bringing them in for workers. And I really hope that's not the case, but because that they would be working with our food supply. And Tyson, I think it's a pork over here by me. So just be aware of when you buy pork that you don't really know who's processing it. And I guess the same goes for chicken because Tyson owns that. But that just goes back to being self-sufficient and buy local and, support your local farmers and all that kind of stuff. And we try to do that around here. We have a lot of farm stands, and I'm sure you guys do too. And this is the best time of year for it now too with fall. But what else was it I was going to say? I just forgot what I was going to say. Senior moment. I don't know. But anyways, I see Sean down here, so I'm going to bring him in. And then when I see Nut, I'll pop her in too. So here we go.
Good morning.
Hi. Oh, glad to see you. So you're on the road, huh?
Yeah, I'm on the road. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine. Your picture's fine and everything too. So I was just wondering, do you want to tell what happened when you were down there this weekend?
Oh, down in Florida. Yeah, it was it's pretty interesting. An interesting event happened. So that was when all the stuff unfolded with President Trump and the second assassination attempt. And we were supposed to meet up with Ralph and Ed and go watch a football game. And Chuck was away, so Chuck couldn't meet us. But anyway, I was driving across Southern Boulevard, and they had it all shut down, the sheriff's department, and the sheriff told me that there was another incident. So we kind of stopped over at the 7-Eleven. We knew the motorcade was going to come by, and it was funny because I texted Ed and told him where we were. And it was funny because Ed snuck up behind me. Well, not really snuck up, but he came into the parking lot, pulled in, got out of the vehicle, and he goes, "Hey, sir, you're not supposed to be there." And I turned around, it was Ed. It was kind of funny. But so we waited a while for the motorcade to come through, and Ed actually left, and we ended up meeting him and Ralph a little bit later. But he had to double back to Newsmax because he had to get on the air about the situation. But it was a interesting time to be down there. It was interesting to see President Trump come by, and after he may have not even been with us anymore. So that was it was a special moment.
Oh, it was awesome. I liked how you were yelling. the whole time through the video. That was cool. I knew it sounded like you. I would have been doing the same thing down there though too as you, because it's so exciting to, and especially after that happened. I mean, that's
Yeah,
you're living history,
yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, we
that's
were sitting there with the fight, and I was wondering if I was going to see a Dan Scavino video come out and see me on the side of the road going.
yeah, that had to have been a lot of fun though. I seen there were so many people there.
Yeah, there was quite a few people. It really was. It was a decent amount of people. So the news traveled fast.
Yeah, were there any like other people protesting against him, or was it just pretty much all pro-Trump?
It was all Trump people. It was all Trump people that were hanging out. There was a lady that actually we were talking to that lives right across from where Mar-a-Lago is there. She says she thinks she lives in the safest area of the world because there's so much police presence now on that road. There's gunboats out in the. I don't know if that's the intercoastal. I guess there's gunboats out there protect from something happening. So there's a lot of security there, but probably not it's still, they could still up it, as we all know.
Yeah. Well, that's what I saw when I was watching the videos and everything too. And then they were saying, there was so much stuff going on. But the only thing I'm confused on is when they said that assassination attempt, I heard one that the guy saw the gun coming through the fence. And then another one said, no, he was on a golf cart. And on the golf cart, he came up and saw the gun in the fence. So I don't know which one's right, but thank God he found the gun in the fence. That's
Thank
all
God
I
he
can
saw.
say.
Yeah, thank God he saw the barrel of the gun. And then I don't know if you saw the pictures afterwards of that area there. I don't know how the Secret Service allowed that for as long as they did. I know Jack Posobiec put a tweet out and showed what you could see there. I mean, you could clearly see in there, and you could see what's going on in there.
Yeah. Nutcracker, I can't see you. I don't think you have your camera on. I'm waiting. She's down here, but I can't pop her in because I don't see your face on the camera. Yeah. That where he was at on that area, man, that was pretty open, really, when you look at it. I mean, it was like a few bushes here and a few bushes there scattered around a little bit like that. That was kind of weird.
Yeah, they say that's where the media gets all their pictures of Trump when he's on the golf course. So I don't know how I mean, there should be a blockade around that.
Yeah.
If he's going to play golf.
Everybody that lives down there's got to know that area is open like that.
You would think. It was weird because when I was standing there, when it was all kind of unfolding, there was a helicopter that was out over by the golf course, and a guy was on the street there. He says his son's an FBI agent, and his son had to leave the house to go over there because of what was going on. I guess to investigate. I don't know. But he was telling me, he says, every time that helicopter flies out there, he says, the residents know Trump's going to play golf. So I don't know if the helicopter hovers around there the whole time or it just kind of goes around and checks some stuff and takes off. But there was a helicopter that was over there.
Oh, well, that when I went to a rally, though, they had drones that were standing right over the top of everybody the whole time.
Really? I've never seen a drone. I've never seen a drone at a rally.
I was in Fort Wayne and we were in the parking lot, waiting to go in. And there was a drone that was stationed right up above the top of the parking lot. I mean, you could see it from the line as soon as you looked up and it stayed right there. It just hovered that whole time until everybody went in. And then once we went in, I don't know what happened to it after that, but it was out there the whole time. But this was a couple years ago.
They should have them for, just for surveillance.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're so cheap now and it's so handy. And look, if the NSA can see a license plate from space, they've got drones that they can see anything they want.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Okay, Nut, I'm going to try bringing you in, even though I don't see you. So I don't know why I don't see you, but I'm going to try. No. All I got is a box, Nut. Well, I don't know what's going on there, but I don't know if she has her camera on or what for that. But I can't bring you on, Nut, till you have your camera going. But so when you saw Ed down there, and then what'd you say, Ralph? And who else?
Yeah, Ralph. Yeah, Ralph looks good. Ed looks good too. Funny story about Ed. So my mother tells me the day before she calls me and tells me she sees Ed on Newsmax, and how nice his hair looks and everything. So,
Mhm.
so when I saw it, I told him, I said, my mother was telling me how nice your hair looks. So I surprised my mom and I FaceTimed her, and then I pulled the phone over. I said, Mom, look who's here. And Ed was standing there. And Ed is so funny. He's going, Mrs. Lucas, look at my hair. He goes, you like my hair? Oh, it's so he's a comic.
He was really giving her the business, huh?
He,
Oh, that's great.
yeah,
That's
it was
great.
funny. Made my mom's day.
Yeah. Aw. That's kind of nice that he did that for your mom, though, you know.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He really is.
Yeah, he gave a shout out for my mom one time too on the air when my mom was here last summer and she was
Mm-hmm.
staying with me for a little while. My mom really got a kick out of that. She thought that was so cool. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I know, Mom. I said, now everybody's going to be hounding you when you go home. They're going to think you're a celebrity or something like that. You know, I told her to charge everybody $1 to look at her, but she didn't think that was as funny as I did. My sense of humor is a little bit weirder than my mother's.
Everybody has a different sense of humor, don't they?
Yeah,
Right?
but you have to have a sense of humor nowadays. If you don't have a sense of humor now, I don't know how you would make it, because every day you'd want to beat your head into a wall with everything that's going on.
Oh my gosh! Did you see the Oprah thing last night with Kamala? The staged interview, as they call it, you know, setup interview.
Yeah, I saw clips of it, but I didn't. I couldn't bring myself to watch it because I really can't stand Oprah.
I saw clips too. I didn't watch the video, or the interview, but I saw clips, and you could tell they were staged questions. She knew she knew what they were going to ask her. She was probably practicing for that, like she was practicing for a debate.
Yeah, well, I saw the clip. I saw Oprah tried to save her on one of the questions. Somebody asked her what she was going to do directly to secure the border or something, and she started with their whole word salad thing, and then Oprah at the very end had to try to bump in and save her a little bit. I can't remember what she said, but it was something to try to help her out. And it says your devices are not connected when you're underneath here, so I don't know if you have your camera and your speakers and your microphone turned on or not. But sorry, Sean, I was just trying to help her out.
You mentioned the word salad. They're saying that's the closest Oprah ever got to a salad.
Oh man, remember when she used to be really, really huge? I mean, really huge.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
And that was when she liked Donald. That was when she liked Donald Trump. Remember, she said, "These words sound like they're presidential. Sounds like you have some aspirations to be president." That was years ago, when she liked Donald Trump. You know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then she started that whole thing out of if you listen to the beginning of the interview or whatever, that they were all independent-minded folks. Like, yeah, she's independent, like you and I are.
Yeah. I can't say I'd ever be independent except for when I want to do something. But I'm like, I'm a Republican, but I'm a Trumper. I will say that more because
I'm a Trump-publican.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. A Trump.
Yep.
I can't say that this morning, but yeah,
Trump-publican.
Trump-publican, yeah. You're talking to a blonde here trying to say a hard word. Don't do that.
And hi to everybody in the chat. I don't see the chat because I'm only on one device, but that's a great chat, isn't it?
Yes, I love it. I love it. We've been doing this for so long, and so many of us become really good friends off of it and everything, but you find out so much information that way too. Because everybody has a little bit of this or a little bit of that.
It's a fantastic group.
Yeah, I don't know about Nut. I don't think we're going to be able to bring her on. She's down here, but her camera isn't showing up at all. I can't even see her. All I see is the box.
Uh-oh.
And
she probably didn't allow, when you go on the link, it asks you to allow your microphone and your camera. Maybe she didn't allow the microphone and camera. She should probably go out and come back in.
Yeah, she's gone out and come back in twice, but I don't know. It keeps saying device is not connected, and I have no way to fix it for her from here. Just try it again, baby. Make sure your camera and microphone are on. I've never had this happen before, so I don't know else what it would be, but it would have to be on your end, not. because everybody out when you pop in, I should be able to see you on the bottom, and I could see. Oh, she left, so I could see that she was there, but it was just that box. Yeah. So I wonder what happened with Chuck. Where's he been? Do you know?
He's around. Matter of fact, well, he was going to meet us, but he went away for the weekend, so he wasn't around that weekend. But he pops in every once in a while.
All right. Yeah, I haven't seen him in a long time in the chat or anything like that. You know, we see Ralph all the time because I see Ralph mostly like at 6 too. You know, he's around.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Ralph looked good. He had some wings and a couple beers, and we were watching the Kansas City game a little bit, and then we had to go because we weren't checked into a place on Sunday night, so we had to get a place, and that was our last night there. So, but it was fun to see him.
Yeah, I bet, you know, that it's got to be fun when you guys all get together in person, because us girls talk about that all the time, you know, about doing something like that. But then we'd have to have bail money for sure.
You girls will be in some trouble, I got a feeling.
Oh, yeah. If you ever heard us talk outside a chat when we're on the phone with each other, yeah, you'd understand then. We could get pretty nasty. It's a lot of fun, though. You figure a bunch of us, you know, we're at the age where you just don't give a damn anymore, you know, so about anything comes out of your mouth. So we end up having a good time.
That's good.
Yeah. So what do you think about all this stuff coming out about Diddy?
Well, it's this is like an Epstein type of story again. You know, now I heard last night that he was placed on suicide watch. So I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. You know, it's the old, you know, Epstein didn't kill himself or hang himself, and probably the same thing with Diddy. I keep on hearing Jay-Z should be very nervous about what's going to be coming out. A lot of major record executives, politicians, they're saying, sports people. I mean, he was doing this for a long time, and I can only imagine what's going on. I mean, it's
yeah. Did you know he was tied to Hefner too?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff I found out was that even under the Playboy Mansion there was tunnels that would go different places, just like the Getty Museum has tunnels underneath it. And if you listen to some of the alternate media and everything, they said that's where they hide a lot of the kids that are missing, are in those tunnels. And I remember when those California fires were happening and it was getting close to the Getty Museum, and they were freaking out in California about the museum, but you always wonder, you know, if it was more because of what was underneath it than what was inside of it. But there was a Liz Crokin. She used to write for the National Enquirer and everything. She's been on this stuff for a long, long time. And if you follow her on X, she has all kinds of stuff about Diddy. But I don't know how much of it is true, because she gets off into left field with some stuff once in a while. But she was talking, saying, what's his name? Clive, the guy that was associated with black music. Is it Clive Barker? I think he was a producer. Sure. Yeah, but she said he murdered Whitney Houston. And there's you know, a lot of, I mean, it looked like a drug overdose, right, for Whitney Houston. Mm-hmm. But so the same thing with Marilyn Monroe. It was a drug overdose, right? So you got to wonder what did these people come across, because there's a lot of money, and that's the last thing they want to do is stop the money train. The interesting thing, like I seen come back up on Twitter, was a video of P. Diddy with some woman in front of an elevator. The video came out? He was grabbing her hair, yanking her. She was trying to get away and all. So, I mean, yeah, you hear about these allegations, then you see stuff like that came up, and I think that was from like years ago. And then it was funny, my wife brought up to me a long time ago, there's a Justin Bieber song about partying with Diddy or something, selling his soul. Yes, yeah.
Okay. And my wife said to me, my wife always accused me of not listening to her, so it's funny. I seen a Twitter X post last night that somebody posted with that song. I really listened to the words, and I was like, wow, you know, especially now with all this stuff. And there's pictures of Diddy with Justin Bieber when he was younger. You got to wonder what's going on here. I mean, definitely where there's smoke, there's definitely fire. That's for sure.
Well, Justin Bieber is married to I think it's Stephen Baldwin's daughter, and that's the Baldwin that's real religious.
Okay.
And he cleaved away from his brothers pretty much, because you know what Alex is like and everything, or Alec.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw, it was a while ago, and he put out a video, and it was really super cryptic. And it was something along the lines of about, you guys have been doing this for a long time, but now the shoe's on the other foot or something, and we're coming for you. But he really never like got into detail. And I think that like the sex trafficking and the molesting and the assaulting and all that kind of stuff, I know from what I heard, it was like Diddy went after Bieber, that way. And there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. And I think because Stephen Baldwin is his father-in-law, that's how Baldwin knows everything that's going on. But plus he was in Hollywood, and he went back, stopped making like the real violent movies and everything. I think it was like after Reservoir Dogs. And that was quite a while ago. But yeah. I read a lot about him, about Stephen Baldwin, and because I always thought he was kind of weird, but actually he turns out to be the better brother out of all of them.
Yeah, the better Baldwin, right? The better Baldwin.
Yeah.
Well, there was a post I looked at last night, and you can find it on Twitter or X. David T. Harris, right? We all know who David T. Harris is, right?
Yeah.
So he had a gentleman on that someone from one of Diddy's companies came to try to, like one of the executives from one of his companies came to try to get some help. It's like a 6-minute video. It was pretty interesting about what he was saying, how they're going to throw the book at Diddy, but they really want Diddy to do his talk. And,
yeah.
And, there's going to be, there's obviously going to be a lot of names that are going to drop. And he's saying like, people are going to be shocked by names. And then you're hearing like somebody like the Nike executive. Now, I'm not saying that the Nike executive is guilty of anything, but the Nike CEO, I think, has just announced retirement. People are like, why is somebody announcing retirement so quick? Like, is there something going on here? Who knows? It's talk about a rabbit hole. It's going to be a big one.
Well, yeah, I saw a list last night, and there was like 20 people that have resigned their jobs or retired early and everything since Diddy got arrested. So,
is it coincidence?
Yeah. And he's already got, there's some guy that's already in prison doing 20 years for something that Diddy did too. And this guy, so Diddy talked when that guy got in. So he's talking now. He's got to save his butt. There's no way he's not talking.
Oh, absolutely. They're gonna come after him with both barrels, and he'll probably be life in jail, especially if it's a minor. I mean, if there's a minor involved in that, because at least like an adult, they could say, well, he tried to say he was going to help him out with music and whatever, and the adult made their own choice to do whatever. But now you coerce a minor, that's a whole different ballgame there.
Yeah, with an adult, you get the consensual, so you have the benefit of the doubt on that part. But with a child, there's absolutely no excuse. And I heard there were minors involved on that. And I imagine they are, pretty much with everything, because what's going to stop you? If you're doing that, under 18 is not going to stop you or prohibit you from doing anything,
No, these people don't care.
It's sick. I mean, there's so much of that goes on out there. I've read so much stuff about, basically what they got to do to ever get anywhere. And the same thing like with Motown. I read stuff about that they used to do satanic rituals every time a new album would come out, that they would do it before the release. But, the more you get into that stuff, the deeper you get. It just seems so crazy. But then when you look at real life, it all ties together. I mean, like I always thought the Disney stuff was crazy. But if you take, Mickey and turn it upside down the way the script is, it looks like Wicked, and they have all the subliminal and the cartoons. And, once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the whole thing. And you wonder what they're doing to our kids with that stuff. Sexualizing the kids, that's so horrible.
It's a whole way of life now, and it's there's a guy who has these reels. He always does, I forget his name, but he does these reels on Facebook, and he'll say like these different situations, and like he's sitting there eating, and he'll say something, and he said something like, talking about sex at work can get you fired for sexual harassment, but talking to sex to kids is okay. Like, it's just, it's the ironies of these things,
Yeah. I remember, when I was in school, they had sex ed, but they never got, super detailed in anything. And then now you look at some of the stuff that they're handing out in elementary school, and you're about ready to have a heart attack with some of this stuff. The teachers, man, they got those teachers really bamboozled to be teaching that DEI stuff and everything.
Oh, well, they feel if they don't teach it, right, or if they push back a little bit, well, now you're a racist, now you're a homophobe, now you're a horrible person, and that's where we've gotten to with our society, with everything. And if you speak up about something, they want to come after you like you're a horrible person. And people by nature don't want issues, so they just don't say anything, But it's the people that speak up is the people we should be applauding.
Well, I think everybody, with social media the way it is, and everybody's on everything. You make one post a day. Support Trump or support the kids, anything, but just bring out the information on what the Dems want to do, because so many people walk around with blinders on and never see anything. They're not aware of nothing. And
absolutely.
Don't you wonder how people can go through life being that ignorant?
People walk around blinders. It's scary where our society is. That they get gaslit. So many people are gaslit, whether it's by the media, whether it's by social media, and they're just gaslit, and they believe so many things that I got a good friend that he thinks Trump wants to be friends with dictators and all, and he's not like a leftist. He's more of a center of the road type of common sense guy, actually. And I spoke to him. I said, my first question to him was, what news do you follow? And right away he told me Fox and CNN. He watches both. And I'm like, you're not watching both. Get that. And then he says, well, I get a lot of news from the internet. I said, so where's your source from the internet? USA Today. So I said to him, well, it's 2 out of 3 is left-leaning sources. I wonder what this is, and they're programming these people to think. And it's a scary time. Scary time for sure.
Yeah, well, I'll admit I watch Fox, and I don't like watch CNN, but I channel surf through the other stuff just so that I could see what they're. We got Nutcracker, yay! Okay, I'm gonna stop right there and bring her around so she has some time. Okay, Sean?
Yep, absolutely.
There we go.
There you go.
Nice.
Now we see you.
Now you got the floor. You can tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have no idea. I suffer a lot of internet and IT disabilities through my career because of what I do. And I'm not a tech person, so I don't really know what I did. Nothing was open. I just rebooted the computer, and that was all. And here you are. So that's good. So let's forget about that. I'm here. I'd like to tell you just a little bit, about me, so you know where I came from. My business and work for the last 22 years has been in politics, just politics, policy, and it evolved from campaigns to OP research to investigations. And I've worked for both sides, to the annoyance of where I came from. It's been a long road. I started in 2002 in Florida, and it was after that race when they first brought in the touchscreen voting machines after Bush versus Gore, and we had the total psyop of pimples and dimples and chads, oh my. They brought in the touchscreen voting machines, and we saw a lot of anomalies, and we had nothing to look at. So a reform movement grew, and it grew around the country. Seattle was a big place, and these were Democrats. Okay. The Bushes didn't win their election like Obama. And, this is what constitutes our cabal and the deep state. And so my work took me, when I'm out of the saddle, into those rabbit holes to work kind of under the radar, or I wouldn't be hireable. The party was very upset, and I've never been hired by a party, only candidates personally by themselves. Mine were always the non-establishment firebrands, people who wrote paper ballot bills that were killed in committees, that were holding Senate seats, etc. Sean, you may remember State Senator Rod Smith. He was one of them. The Democrats couldn't stand him. They wanted Jim Davis in there, who I worked for, to his irritation. But I learned that Democrats were not really acting like Democrats. But in my work, in studying the elections and the machines and following the money, I learned that research will always lead you to the government human trafficking and the money. And that's where I ended up working. I worked for 7 years with Noreen Bosch. I brought her to town. I was threatened. I said, I don't care. They said Jeb Bush would put me 6 feet under for it. I didn't care. I brought her anyway. I worked with whistleblower Clint Curtis, who created the touchscreen voting machines. And I had a real problem during all of this research with Steve Bannon discussing, it goes back to 2010 with Obama Romney. It goes back much further, and it's not just the Democrats. And, there were Democrats that don't like the topic, even though they lost. And there are Republicans who don't like the topic, but it's not a one-sided topic. Both sides cheat. It's done primarily in their primaries. They keep people away, like veterans who have a lot of information, and they keep them away through their bylaws, through their vet halls. It's hard to organize them. And they came at me in a group of retired veterans traveled in 2004 to meet me after an event when I was working, pulled me aside when I was already with a couple of vets. One was Max Cleland, and wanted to speak with me. And their concern is that they're dying off. And nobody knows this information and stuff that I was learning. So they wanted to kind of take me under their wing, and they would find cases and want me to follow them and watch them through the years, because that's when you learn and you see things like Epstein. I put out the first Epstein emails in 2006.
Oh.
I put out a lot of Franklin scandal emails in the government pedophile rings. I struggled with my own group. They were worried that I was going too deep into a rabbit hole. And I was working on a Reform Party candidate's campaign, and Mark Foley was busted in the Page Boy scandal. Sean, you remember Mark Foley?
I remember that.
You remember Mark Foley?
Yeah.
My email crashed in the campaign office. They never gave me a large enough account. I warned them. But because of all of this onslaught, they were locked out of being able to use their internet system for 24 hours. And when we got back in it, I could see all of my emails from people that knew me saying, we love you, you were right. And these were very astute people who don't, want to know. And so all of this information is difficult. Some people can't handle it. They don't want to know. After 2004, we found serious anomalies the night of, when numbers were traveling through modems to local SOE offices. And I put out some information in the morning, and I got an email from one of my best Go Get 'em volunteers in Brevard County, a 42-year-old dentist. And she wrote me an email back, and she said, am I supposed to believe that my country would steal an election? And I just wrote one word, yes. And she wrote back, and she said, I cannot handle this, Lauren. If I have to believe my country would do that, I can't live. So please don't send me this. So I had to take her off.
Oh.
And now, my work, it's been like this. I was one of the first people kicked offline for this topic when I was on AOL, before being kicked off was cool. And I've been kicked off of every platform since. I don't go back. I don't really need them. But when I was kicked off AOL, that was our internet too into our home. And I had a husband coming home who receives work on email, and I'm not making any money right now. And I'm causing all this trouble. I've had criminal intelligence people knock on my door on Saturday so that my husband would answer. But he gets it all now, and he kind of loves to watch me take over and perform when I invite them in. And so it's been a good time. It's all good fun. I've done nothing wrong, so I'm not afraid. Our money is our money. Getting blackballed, I wear it with a badge. I'm not hireable in my community because of all of the information. But then there are those, that support you, and for 20 years, they only read what I send out. That brings me to when everything kind of stops. Trump is like my retirement. Nobody has a bigger mouth, more money, and a bigger platform than him for these topics.
Yeah.
In 2017, Trump started taking down trafficking rings, and nobody was really, of course, picking up on it, reporting on it. I know he took a bad rap in Norway, and these people were funneling their money through the CGI, the Clinton Global Initiative, not the Global Initiative. And they clean the money, and they take their cut, and then they give them their $15. And, Bill opened up the CGI 1 year after Biden came into office, and nobody said a word. But I got an email from somebody who they listened, but they keep going back and doing the same thing with the same candidates. But she wrote me one day in 2017 and said, I can understand why you like Trump taking down this trafficking ring. You've been working for so long. And I wrote back and I said, thank you for that. I just don't understand why you're not. It's a problem. And I called somebody who worked in the election reform movement with me that I brought in years ago. And after the 2020, I called him up and he said, Lauren, what do you care? It's Trump. And I thought, after 20 years in stealing elections, here's where everyone can come together. We have somebody like Trump who will stand up for us now and take the heat. And a lot of people, and getting into trouble for all of this, more trouble than I've had. So it's disappointing. His response was, I'm trying to find out who owns the machines the night of the 20th. And I reminded him I put an email out in 2018 that George Soros bought them. And out of my group, only one person responded, a lawyer, and said, does this mean our vote will be counted overseas? And I said, yes. And more so, I think we're going to be looking at satellites. And then we saw Italy and Germany. And I still want to know where Gina Haspel is. I don't think she's a distraction like some of our comrades believe and say, forget about Gina. That's not good, because Gina is a big part of this. And
wasn't she working at a law? She's working at a law firm now.
Yes, they all go there. Imran Awan is back in Pakistan working at a law firm that services the Clintons. So, where is Imran Awan? He got to go into the courtroom with George Webb videotaping a dark car going into an underground garage. You never saw him. Yet we have Trump, walking in and all of these things. So all through the years, so much, it's 22 years now. But when I first started and all through it, and people didn't understand this, I always told them, if you just read one book, when you turn on the TV, everything will fit together and you will see it. And that was the Franklin cover-up, because you have the media in there, you have the law in there, you have the Justice Department in there, and he writes things in there about Columbine. Tracy, we've talked about this with the antidepressants that those boys were. The first school shoot them up. He found our FDA approved those drugs with a 25% fact that they would be homicidal or suicidal. Our country would never release a drug with those stats, yet they did. And John DeCamp took that information to the Colorado judge, and he rendered it inadmissible. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, and now everybody's on this. They can't even filter it out of the water. We all get a little bit, and we all know how to keep ourselves healthy. It's not everybody, but this group. And that brings me to the KED family. After 2020 and before that, not knowing what was going to happen, I said, we have this group that is so astute. Like, I was mentored by retired military, and many are gone. They've passed on. They gave them dishonorable discharges and no burials, and it's just been awful. But the KED family, you are like, when they found me and wanted me to run with their stuff, this is like a whole pod of people who are so informed. I don't know if this understands the value of all of you for the things that are able to remember and connect. You never say, ooh, don't post that. Not, I don't want to know about that. I never hear any of that in the places that we post. Truth Social did take something down in the beginning. The CDC story that I put on our chat. And I'd like to talk about that one day, another time, when when it gets into the bird flu and the monkeypox and more of this stuff. I'd like to do a little segment on the CDC that you have seen that I showed you of what goes on there, like the rest of our agencies that are infiltrated and full of degenerates, and they are brilliant degenerates.
Can I interrupt you just for a second?
Sure.
Sean, do you got to pop out?
Yeah, I had to pop out because I had to be at a appointment at 10 o'clock. So
yeah, I'm sorry. I just did. I'm go
no,
ahead.
it's okay.
no
I don't
worries.
want to touch your brain.
It was fun being on, and I'll see you again.
All right, thanks, Sean. I appreciate
Everybody
it.
have a great week. Everybody have a great weekend.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Trixie,
Sorry. No, go ahead.
That's okay. That was the plan. That was the schedule. A lot of men have difficulty with the topics that are going on with the trafficking, the government-sponsored pedophilia for control. When I talk to very astute men in politics and we're working, I'll start talking and I can see it's just going right over them, and they'll open their mouth and say something that has nothing to do. And I talked to a psychologist about that, about why men won't go there. And it's hard for them to talk about, which is a natural thing. So I don't know. Sometimes I talk to people and their brains are like full. They don't know what they're going to do at work all day. So I hope Sean's okay. I have a lot of information and there's never enough time. My powwows are like 4 hours. They're putting coffee cups on the diner tables and we're still there.
Oh, I could probably talk to you for a whole day.
Yes, there's so much information, but I just want the KED family to know the value of this group. I've worked in so many groups, and there's not a lot of people around that really know everything that this group knows. And I can't say enough about Ed and Karen bringing that all out in the chat and working with everybody and just interrupting what they're doing and finding a news bit, no matter how ugly, bringing it up, letting people talk about it. And our news was more fluid than watching, news. I didn't need it. So Sunrise America, I would dance around this room. And what happened is so egregious because it boils down to Trump. It was not helpful for Trump. And I don't like it when people put themselves in front of a mission. Okay. It's too important. And it was the only media source he has. And now Ed, is making a living and he's giving you the keys, Trixie. And I think this is just great on Friday.
I'm surprised he did. I'm telling you, I don't know why he did, but
I'm not surprised because he has 7,000 followers on Wake Up Patriots. We are patriots and we are awake. And enough people are not awake. There are still broken families. I have a piece of that. My best friend, who's an attorney, married to an attorney, kicked out of the bedroom. She's not vaccinated. Not meeting newborn grandchildren. Me not meeting great nieces. And they're all sick all the time anyway. And I've got it narrowed down to zip codes in my own family. It's Philly, Chicago, and LA. And the mindset, it is mind control, and they can't shake it. So I'm not vaxxed, and they didn't want me around them. And I found out it was very hurtful. But that's why, people here know and understand that. And there's so many fractures everywhere except this group. And that's why when they took our personal chat down and trying to do our own campaigning things to help, and it just disappeared. And I went right to them and addressed everything to Jason Miller. And I said, are you crazy? I told him what I do. And I said, what everybody talks about. And I thought it was funny when he put the chat back up that he left everything there, because that stuff isn't really there. It's just us being friendly, and Mark with his humongous squashes, and Deborah Lynn with her stove. I got my stones leveled and scare the hell out of them already, anyway, right? Regardless of what we know, we take care of ourselves. So it's a very astute group, and I know how important that is to Trump. And when he wins, I just want to say this, that's when the work is really going to begin. He's really going to need everybody to start pushing out his policies. They don't watch him at noontime, and they lie at 5 o'clock. So we have to be there to really combat all that. It's being a digital warrior and working online. And there are groups. It's funny, I get these messages. I don't even know who they are. I see you getting kicked off everywhere. We're over here. We need you here. And I don't ask. I go. And I'm like, whoa. And I got to put my lawyer friend on there with my password and everything. And she said, all I see is a black screen. There's nothing there. And I'm like, I don't know where this is, but it's very informative. They're ahead of the curve, and it's helpful. And like I said, I never apply for work. I don't know where I'm going. I just land there. And I think it's divine. It's God. I had a political bone in my body. And I had a very strange experience one day in October of 2000. And I've never, ever shared it with anybody. It's a religious experience. I was not religious. I was raised a Catholic. I'm my own religion, but studying the Catholics and the corruption, I don't go there, And I had an experience one day out on Clearwater Beach when I was alone. And it was very, very strange. I heard conversation, and I thought it was people walking behind me. So I just stopped and turned to get out of their way and let them pass. And there was no one there. And it happened 3 times. And I wrote down the 3 sentences so that I would never forget them. And the sentences were, America is going to be exposed. And I just got out of the way for somebody to walk, and there was no one there. And then I heard it again, and it said, America is not the country it is perceived to be. I'm looking around, I get out of the way, there's no one there. So I'm looking at these big houses with shutters down, nobody lives there. The frontages are huge where I'm walking. And I'm wondering if I can hear voices from balconies. There's no one there. And then the third thing I heard at the end of my walk was, if you work hard, you can get your country back. And I'd never done this work before. And I looked up at where I was, and I was standing in front of Jack Eckerd's home, who ran and owned all of the Eckerd drugstore in Florida. They were sold to CVS. And he was a Republican who was friendly with the Gores. And this was less than a month after Bush v. Gore. And I looked up at the house and I thought, oh God, don't let anything happen to this election for the people. And there was really nothing that I could do. I went to work election day and I saw jackhammers and roadblocks in front of polling places. And I thought, well, that's weird. I get to work and I'm hearing stuff at 5. I get home and I said to my husband, someone needs to call a lawyer. And I turned on the TV and that was such an understatement. And that whole thing was a psyop. Those were Jeb's high operatives peeking in the windows and stopping the vote count. The Miami Herald, if anyone here doesn't know this, they did their own recount. And the ballots were brought down by Tallahassee by armored vehicle to the Miami Herald in a motorcade. And they went through everything. And they said by clear ballots, what you can see, dimples, and all those, Al Gore did not lose by 529 votes. He won by about 35,000. Love him or hate him, that was how the vote went. And we had a Secretary of State who was co-chair of the Bush-Cheney campaign, Katherine Harris.
Mhm.
Jeb vacated the state to the ranch so that he would not have to execute anything. And all of this stuff went on. And then afterwards, they made it a law that in Florida, the Secretary of State could no longer be a co-chair of a campaign. So in 2004, they moved the shit show to Ohio, where Ken Blackwell was the Secretary of State. And they shut down the tabulation. It was public, always, by a bomb threat that we found out did not exist. And all of this stuff went on. We went in for recounts that we got instituted, and they started changing parts of the machines. There's so much information, it was so bad. But then Ken Blackwell would go on to be governor, and that's how it works. And everybody knows.
Yeah.
So, it just continues, and we keep getting this. And that's why, there's never been anybody like Donald Trump to put this forward. I took my whistleblower, who was a Republican in Florida, who worked for a tech company and created these touchscreen machines with prototype, and then learned what he did and became a whistleblower, and he became a Democrat. And after hearing all of the ravages going back to 2010, I needed to do something. So I went to Sidney Powell, and I gave her information that I had, murder pictures, which my copyrighted investigative journalist made her take down because he's still a Democrat. But I gave her Clint's information. He's a lawyer now. He ran several times and for office, and he's working with Mike Lindell. He has traveled with him to the Senate. Everybody loved to hear from a Democrat on this side. It kind of brought things together. And he went with him to Shasta County, California, where they just instituted a hand count paper ballot law for their county. So he went because they were voting in commission chambers, and if it had passed, we needed him there, a copy of a law, something written so they know what it means and it's clean, and to help them put a law together like that so that it's correct. So there's so much work going on that's not reported. I have a hard time keeping up with all the states with what they're trying to do that's good, along with the corruption that keeps popping up,
Yeah.
in Georgia and all of this, kind of stuff. So there's a lot there, and I've never known anyone that keeps up with stuff like this group. I'm telling you, Trixie, it is very special, and you guys don't know this yet. And I don't think Ed really knew it, but Ed, working with everybody in media, just kind of kept it going and welcomed all this stuff like it was okay during the show, and it just kept going. And that's why it can't be stopped. And I'm so grateful to him and Karen and their show. It was so authentic. And then, of course, being around Republicans and the religion, I liked it because I'm not outwardly with it, but I enjoyed it. I don't read the Bible because I can't. I can't read the grammar and understand it. And if I have to ask somebody, it's open to interpretation, and I don't trust. And so the Jesus Calling is, in layman's terms, daily. And that became my favorite part of the show. And the Jesus doll, and when it all came crashing, I cried. And I thought, something's got to happen. And I'm so grateful that in their own grief, they ran around buying ring lights, running into porticos where they could set up and do videos with us and keep going as long as they could. And here we are, and we're not going anywhere. So I just want everybody here to know there's a lot of bad stuff to learn. It helps to know because our government is sponsoring all of this.
Yes.
And that's why I don't even take a side in the Israeli-Palestinian side, because I think that anyone that does right now is just being baited into where they want you on both sides, because we fund both sides.
Yeah.
So I don't want to argue with friends and people that I love. And that's probably one area I'm a little ignorant, 250 years of this. leave them alone with it. I just, so
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm coming from. A lot of
Oh.
work.
I love talking with you in the chat all the time because you're both. I remember stuff like an elephant. I don't know why I do. And so when you bring stuff out like that, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that, and it's great. You add so much to the chat all the time.
Well, and you're like a soul sister. There are not many, but I just think that it's fun and that it's God, how we find each other and we're able to build on this work. Because when I brought Nori Gosh to Florida, when I introduced her, I said to the group that was there that I felt we needed to learn how to work in a less partisan way. Yeah. Now, years later, people said, I always wondered why you said that. I didn't like that. I didn't understand that. But I said, they have us focusing on campaigns over here to do this work. Campaign 101. And I said, I think the real work is over here. And that's where we need to be. I said, and what that work is, I'm not sure. My hope after tonight is that collectively we can figure that out. And I brought her up to speak, and it was a mind blower. The woman has 3 different event styles. She has one for children to protect themselves, and she has one for parents who don't do what we do. And then she has one for people like us where she tells everything she knows. And I said, I want it, all there. And she wouldn't get into the bushes unless she asked. So I had somebody ask her. So she worked with me ahead of time, in that way. I had to hide her in a room. My event was infiltrated by somebody that was close to the Franklin kids.
Oh.
Her husband found him in the room. He stood outside the room where she was because she won't meet with people. They'll want to chat and she'll be depleted before she speaks. So she has to be hidden away. And her husband, who was her former bodyguard, and she married him, George Hartney, he stood outside, and I'm just running around setting stuff up, and people are coming, and he said, do you know that guy? And I said, no. And he said, oh, well, he bought a book. And I said, good. And I just carried on with my tasks. And then later, Noreen contacted me, she said, that guy. And she showed me pictures of someone involved who's trying to help. Mm-hmm. This was his brother. And he was on a couch in this picture from a long time ago. And I said, that's him. So they identified him. He drove down in a utility truck by a county without lettering, those big white trucks with the cones. Mm-hmm. He looked sorted, unhealthy. We learned he had hepatitis C. He's passed away now. My event was in 2005. And a veteran that came that I contacted and said, did you notice this guy? 3 of them did. One said he walked in the building with me. And he said, I knew he was a mole because he walked in with me and said, oh, this is where the meeting is. And he said, I looked at him and I said, this is not a meeting. It wasn't even. So, and I had pictures on the trees of all the missing kids not found, some in Florida, Tiffany Sessions. Nobody ever found, and things like that. So you just kind of bring it all together. And of course, with Herbert Walker Bush being involved, everybody loved it. But the Democrats and the Clintons, they're involved too. So, nobody has to have hurt stripes. They're all tempted.
Yeah. So, I'm going to be doing this with Deborah on Fridays for as long as Ed will let us. He hasn't told me or Deb a end date yet. So I want you to come back.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Every day, and I try to add insight into the chat, when you guys are talking.
Yeah, I appreciate what you do. And
I'm wondering, Ed and Karen, I think, might be looking in today. I stay under the radar. No one knows my name. Deborah knows who I am. I reached out to her in the past for her mother. I tried to help her. And I'm not hiding from any of you. And I'm not really hiding from anybody. But those handles were used in investigations and on blogs where I was the commissioner of the investigation and couldn't really use my name. So that's all it is. But I'm kind of an in your face. I have nothing to hide. The only thing on my phones are nasty pictures from Hunter's laptop. Frankly,
We all have those.
if they want to look at what we are looking at, that's what I load up for them, because we're going to educate those spooks who are looking. They don't even know what they're looking for, you know. So I just say, look at that. When they wanted to check our library books several years ago during Obama, they're going to start tracking our library books. I had my group around Florida check out the Franklin cover-up from the library all at once. I know there's only 4 copies in the state, and they would have to do intrastate and bring books in, which they do. So we did that little campaign, and those are the fun things, you know, to kind of do. Obama's wanted the top 3 things for people to investigate. I hit my group and said the Franklin cover-up, and he took the poll down. So these things are effective, and they're fun, and they're in their face, and they know that we know, and I don't care. I'm not hiding.
I know that they know, because I have weird things happen to my laptop and my phone. My email disappears for about an hour, and then all of a sudden it's back.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, and
I'll bet.
so I'm not going to say everything because I don't want anybody, you
Right,
know. But
right.
I know somebody's watching me. I'm positive of it. I have no
Well,
doubt.
God is watching you too. And Ed, you know, Ed did so much, and he had to put up with so much so wrong. And I know you guys are tuned into Ed and plans that he has. You know, I hope that he can come back. I mean, it was so fun.
He said he's going to come back.
I mean, he puts his makeup on the show in front of us when he's late. I love it. You know, and Karen, when they were at Benny's on the beach and she'd have to braid her hair.
That was Benny's. I love that.
It was so much fun, but it did so much. People don't really know, and that's why they still mess with Ed on Rumble. They continually remove him from my feed. I have to bring him up every day. Yet people I looked at once are sitting there, you know. So they're on to him too.
Okay, somebody wants to know what that red hat is in the background. Is that a MAGA hat back
That's a MAGA hat, and I'm sorry you can't see it.
There you go, Red. It's a MAGA hat.
MAGA hat. I was going to hang our flag from the closet, but you could only see the stripes about 6 inches down, and it didn't look like much. I do have signs outside. I have an Anna Paulina Luna sign with a Trump-endorsed ribbon on the top that she has. And, you know, I'm on a circle corner where for years people would go by to see my signs because they're lazy, apathetic and lazy. And they know I work, you know.
You can see mine. My backdrop is Trump on the tank with all the explosions. It's that big flag. I hang it out for my CNN neighbors in the backyard that live behind me, because I swear they watch CNN 24/7. I've said I was going to get one of those universal remotes and like screw with them, you know, and change.
Right.
I brought it in for this, but you know, there's a few people that they're really happy that you were on today. They love everything that you're saying. And so
thank you.
We're going to have to wrap it up.
Okay.
It's already 10:15.
Wow.
I know they said to keep going. So
Okay.
I said, okay. So we just kept going. But I really would like for you to come back on again and give you the whole hour. You know?
Anytime. And I think the CDC is a good rabbit hole Friday.
I can go with the CDC with you on that one.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
The NIH and the NIAID too. I got so many stories about that kind of stuff.
And I think it would be a great show. It's icky, and but it's real and it's sourced. So and it's funny. There's a Truth Social story behind that too. I think I posted that I'd like everybody to know about, because Truth Social was brought up because of the censoring, and they took my first post down. Oh. And I appealed it and I won. You know, it's sourced, it's out for public dissemination. Why are they doing this? And I wanted to put it up. And then I thought I better look at this. And when I went back, Trixie, 1 digit was missing and the link was bastardized. So I fixed it.
I'm going to tell you real quick what happened to me. You know how the COVID stuff? Yes. I came across the abstract from the Wuhan lab before all the stuff happened because of what I do. And I had it, and I got a hold of my sister in Traverse City, and I sent it to her, and I said, start watching for this to be coming through the ER. And she poo-pooed me, I got up one morning and my electronics were scrubbed. It was missing. I had it on my phone, I had it on my laptop, and I had it on my tablet. I had it in 3 different spots, and every spot, anything I had with that one morning was just magically gone. And it freaked me out so bad when that happened that I didn't dig for a little while. It was a couple weeks before I started getting into stuff again. But when that happened to me, that's when I almost lost it. And I was like, I'm going balls to the wall. I'm against all of them from now on. And I'm going to say anything I can say and do whatever I can do.
Right. And now they empty bank accounts.
Yeah.
So, and that used to be just for top level spooks that didn't behave or assets. They'd empty out their accounts. And now we know they're doing that to the Canadian truckers. They're letting us see that they do that. And that's why I don't have any money. So I don't have anything for them. I don't care. And I like it that way. So, and I just stay in their face,
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up, you guys. Thanks for watching and staying overtime. I told you guys Nut would be really good. She's always got good stuff, man. I've been following you, though. I think we've been like on the chat for years already, haven't we?
Yes.
You and I together. I mean, it's been years. But
we need to get everybody kind of back there, because that was a personal space when one of us has trouble or we need each other, other than the open getter, So I'm really happy that that's back.
Yeah, more people are going to have to find out about our little private chat.
I did that to you in the invites. These are people that and I don't want to blast anything out there. I'm good at being under the radar and staying behind somebody and protecting and seeing the arrows coming, and that's usually what I did on the field.
I appreciate you coming on today. So I'm going to tell you thank you very much, and tell everybody thank you for watching. I know we went over. Thanks for hanging around and watching. But so you're going to come back, though. You promise, right?
Absolutely, I promise. And I'll be here on Monday is when we're back in the chat. Monday. Okay. I will see you then.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.